Good evening, everyone. My name is Johnny Morehouse, and I, along with my co-host, Tina Vanderwall, welcome you to the 10th Annual Fruitport Hall of Fame induction ceremony. We're excited to be here tonight and are so happy you have joined us this evening to help honor and celebrate 3 deserving individuals and 2 teams who will be inducted into the Fruitport Hall of Fame this evening. The Fruitport Hall of Fame is formerly known as the Fruitport Athletic Hall of Fame, where outstanding athletes, teams, coaches, and supporters of Fruitport Athletics have been honored with induction into the Fruitport Athletic Hall of Fame since 2013. We give a special thank you to the late Ken Ernie for planning, organizing, and bringing to life the inaugural Fruitport Athletic Hall of Fame a decade ago. At this time, we'd like to introduce our MC for this evening, Tara Miller Hernandez. Tara is a 1999 Fruitport graduate who once told Roger Scudder, her high school media teacher, that she wanted to be a sports anchor one day. After graduating from Fruitport and Michigan State University with a bachelor's degree in journalism and a minor in Spanish, Tara went to work in Augusta, Georgia, becoming the first female sports anchor to work in that market. From there, she worked at Fox 17 in Grand Rapids and also spent time at ESPN working alongside some of the best sports anchors in the world. Tara left the journalism world in 2013 and has been working in media relations with stints at the Gerald R. Ford International Airport, Trinity Health, and currently serves as corporate public relations assistant manager for Kohl's Stores, where she supports the retailer's top executives in public relations and communications. Tara and her husband Tony, a proud Marine Corps veteran, have a daughter Haven and a Labradoodle fur baby. Please welcome back our very own Fruitport alum, Tara Miller Hernandez.
You guys always make me sound way cooler than I really am. If you know me, I'm not that cool. No, I have had a very cool career, and I've had a chance to interview a lot of really neat people and tell a lot of great stories. And that's probably a question that I get asked the most often is, who are some of your favorite athletes that you've interviewed or your favorite stories to tell? And I'm going to date myself a little bit, but I worked in Augusta, Georgia, so I had a chance to interview some of the greats like Jack Nicklaus and Arnold Palmer. I actually covered Matthew Stafford's career when he was the quarterback at the University of Georgia. At the same time, Calvin Johnson was a receiver at Georgia Tech, and then I was working at Fox 17 when they both played for the Lions, so that's dating myself. But I followed their careers and have had a chance to tell some really, really great stories. Probably one of my favorite stories, though, actually took place right here in Fruitport with Coach Wilson, and I think it was probably the 2007-2008 football team. We told a story called The Play, and Coach Wilson had put a young kid in. I think he was the team manager, had some physical ailments, and he ran in a 2-point conversion. It became this viral video, and he trusted me to tell the story. And the young man and Coach Wilson's team shared their highlights of what that meant to them. And it went on to win a Michigan Association of Broadcasters Award. It was nominated for an Emmy. And it was kind of that full circle moment of, having started my broadcasting career here, telling a story like that, and then getting to be back here tonight with all of you. So thank you for having me here. With that, let's get started with our program, shall we? We're going to start with Barbara Martz Van Horsen. Barbara founded the Muskegon County Domestic Violence Health Initiative. She served as the first executive director of Habitat for Humanity in Muskegon County, and then was tapped to move into the field of ministry. She started her nonprofit, the Momentum Center, and it is literally saving lives. Here's more on Barbara.
I moved to Fruitport with my family when I started 2nd grade, and so it was hard to find the place where I fit in. And so it was really 5th grade that was my saving grace. Mr. DeVries introduced us to theater, and I loved theater. We would create plays in the class, and that year I had perfect attendance. And theater really was where I found my tribe throughout the rest of my school career. I was a really studious student. I took my schoolwork seriously, and I worked hard to do well.
She was, if I can remember correctly, second in her class, and she was an honor student. She worked really hard, which is really difficult for someone involved in two intensive programs like the media program and the theater program. They were very intensive programs, and yet she still could maintain that grade point in that work.
And I think about Mr. Mays in 6th grade, who inspired creative writing. I think about Gwen Howell in high school, Bob Seeger, and Roger Scudder. Roger Scudder was really more of a father to me than my father was. And so many others that had an impact and taught me about resiliency and the reward of hard work and putting my best effort forward. I also think about debate class, particularly right now in these times when we are so polarized around so many issues. The value of debate and having to take an opposite side, I think that's really been one of the skills that I've brought into all of my work since high school.
She's fair, she's determined, she's hardworking, she's relentless in her pursuit of her goals, and she's an amazing communicator, and she's extremely courageous.
Oh, Barbara, my goodness, she is creative, she is compassionate, she is driven. Oh my goodness, and is she smart? Just turn around once and you'll know how smart she is.
She's always had the qualities, and what's important is she's honed them over the period of time. Sometimes the honing probably has been painful. That for all of us go through that, but that's part of the growth process, and she's been able to make or turn that kind of a thing into a positive, not only for herself, but to an awful lot of other people.
And so I read a book that she's written, which is entitled Tensions in the Tank, which is the story not only about her faith development, but it's a story about her development as a professional and how she is able to live with tension. And that's what the book is, tension in the tank. Never degrading other people, but always lifting up what she's been with other people and naming them as what she got from them. Not their downside, but their upside. And she was always seeing possibilities.
So I worked really hard, got my associate's degree from Baker College. It was Muskegon College of Technology at the time. I went into a medical record career, moved into medical administration while I worked on my bachelor's degree in public administration, and moved while I was in medical administration to this place where I felt like I needed to make a difference in people's lives instead of worrying about physician reimbursement. My first foray into nonprofit work was really forming the Domestic Violence Healthcare Initiative while I was working in medical administration. And then the hospital got to the place where we were merging with other hospitals. There were a series of downsizing, and along the way, my position was downsized, which worked out beautifully because I was given a 3-month severance and I used it to complete my master's degree, an MBA in leadership studies, and used that to start doing full-time nonprofit administration. So I was the first full-time administrator at Muskegon County Habitat for Humanity, and we did some wonderful things like the very first interfaith build. We did one of the very first women builds. I was recognized with an award for creativity from Habitat International. Got to do my first international build in Korea, and then was really feeling called to ministry. I was tapped to do some work for my church, and ended up doing mission development, pursuing ordination, and led a ministry that was really about marginalized populations. My passion was for people that didn't fit in to other places.
She started her church in a bar when the people, on the days when there wasn't anybody there. She was a person who could make beautiful things out of small, insignificant, overlooked things, including people.
Eventually, we became an interfaith ministry, which meant that the mainstream church that was funding us stopped funding us. I thought it was important not to abandon people who'd already been abandoned, so I stayed as a volunteer, helping people connect to other communities.
So she had to take all those skills, move it into the secular arena, put this together, still remaining true to that core self that said it's the least of these that are important.
At that point, I felt like I could go back to full-time nonprofit work at a methadone clinic and then in Can Do, working as a job developer. That work was pretty narrow. It was very rewarding, but I needed a larger venue. And I really missed preaching, so I launched a speaking career, which was really taking off in the college market. I wrote a couple of my books and was experiencing really good success when my youngest son developed a pretty severe case of schizophrenia. Took us in and out of the hospital and residential care for about 5.5 months before we found the right medication to stabilize his life. And when that happened, I realized I could not have a career where I would be gone all of the time. So I had to recalibrate. It was kind of a dark time of trying to figure out what in the world I was supposed to do. I knew I didn't work really well for other people. And so I started the nonprofit, Extended Grace, as a way to connect people who wanted to make a difference with opportunities to do that. We started by having community conversations, and the number one need that came up over and over again was around mental health. So we formed the Mental Illness Task Force and started imagining what it would take to fill in that gap. Those conversations led to the model for the Momentum Center. And we opened the Momentum Center in 2017, started using that as the name of the nonprofit to reduce confusion, and have had remarkable success there. We've seen people experience statistically significant decreases in anxiety, depression, loneliness, feelings of stigma, and increases in social connectedness. And it's a great return on investment. People get better while needing less costly interventions.
Well, the Momentum Center is a place that has taught me to where I can learn about people who I cannot always fix. But people who have handicaps, who've gone through periods of vulnerability, they're people on the margin and people who can belong there. And to learn to know them as people, they have taught me much about patience. They taught me much about listening, taught me much about my own vulnerabilities, but taught me much how they know much more than what I ever thought that they knew. And we have a mentally impaired daughter who says to me often, "Dad, you can't tell a book by its cover. You got to get into it."
I traveled with Barbara to on the civil rights road trip that she organized, and it was a profound learning experience for me. And I was amazed at how easily she guided a bus full of people through some really hard conversations and difficult days, and how much we all grew from the experience. She is a gift to the world, and she has made a huge difference in people's lives.
Barbara, what I say to you, you have had a marvelous personal history of becoming a unique professional. I congratulate you because from the Christian faith perspective, you've been asked not to organize, but you've been asked to create a community. And what you have done is what the New Testament is about in Matthew and Mark, of how Jesus reached out to all people, what got Jesus in trouble, because the people who were persons of authority and of the institution could not tolerate the change. You will be living with tension all your life, but in that tension, you will help us to become what God wants us to be.
I'm a different person today than when I graduated. I know my value and my worth, and I celebrate what I've accomplished and know that I have much more to do. But there's also that wounded child inside of me, inside all of us, that continues to seek validation, that longs to hear someone say, "Well done, you are worthy." Today, she is hearing that from all of you, from the people from her childhood who she so wanted and needed to impress. And it almost brings me to tears. So I want to thank everybody in this system, all of the teachers who were so impactful in my life, including Roger Scudder and Mr. DeVries and Mr. Mays and Mrs. Howell. And I will certainly forget to name many, and I apologize for that. But all of you, thank you for welcoming me home, for providing a healing balm, for setting my broken bones. I feel healing in this induction. I feel wholeness, and for that I am beyond grateful, today and always. The divine in me recognizes and bows to the divine in you. Namaste.
An incredible story. Let's give another round of applause as she makes her way to the stage to Barbara. Kathleen Johnson was born to teach. She began her teaching career in the fall of 1968 in a third grade classroom at Shetler Elementary School. During her 31 and a half years in Fruitport, Kathy taught kindergarten through third grade in all 3 elementary schools, retiring in June of 2002 when her first grandchild was born. Here's more on Kathleen Johnson.
I started teaching third grade at Shetler School in 1968. At that time, the new addition wasn't completed, so the fire marshal wouldn't allow us in the building. We spent 6 weeks at the 4-H camp, and it rained almost every day. We didn't have our materials because most of our textbooks and everything were still in storage, which meant we had to develop our own curriculum and our own lessons, and we studied plants and animals and the water and the pond, and it turned out to be kind of a one-room, multi-age school, and was my first teaching experience, so thank goodness for all of the teachers who were seasoned teachers who mentored me and taught me so much that first year. And I continued at Shetler School with third grade, and then I taught kindergarten through third grade the rest of my career, and in all 3 of the buildings. And teaching kindergarten, what a delight to teach kindergarten. The children would come in as babies in the fall. Some of them would cry, some of them just wanted to play. But by the end of the year, they were not babies anymore. They were little learners, and they were ready for first grade. We had a lot of fun as kindergartners because we had the letter people, and we would do songs and poems to learn our numbers, and it was just fun. And the kids learned through play, even though they didn't know they were learning while they were playing. Fruitport's a great place to live and to work. And during my years of teaching, the dedication and of the other employees was just phenomenal. And our camaraderie and collaboration is just priceless. I was very fortunate to work with some very outstanding people, both the teachers and the support staff. It's just been a really rewarding experience for me.
When I think of her in that setting, her classroom, my mind goes to her last few years. You enter the Shetler building, you turn to the left, and turn to the left one more time, and you're in Kathy's classroom. People in the community know her, they respect her, and love her. If we went out in our community to an athletic event, perhaps a child would walk by and say, "Hi, Mrs. Johnson," and she would always stop and talk to them. And when she was finished, she would look at me and say, "I had Brian in school in one of my classes, and I had his mother too."
Some of my fondest memories in teaching are the years that I teamed with Barb Bates-Lalick. Barb and I have very, very different personalities, but we balanced each other, and we would bounce ideas off each other. We would plan projects together. We shared our classrooms. It wasn't her classroom and my classroom, it was our class. And every year in the spring, we would have a Mother's Day celebration, and the kids had a program, and they learned to sing and dance, and they wrote letters to their moms, and always had punch and cookies after the parents would come back to our classroom. It was the highlight of the year. And some of the other memories that I have, other than teaching the academics, was our Make It Take It days, and we would have the parents would come in, and we had different stations in different classrooms, and all of the second grade classrooms would move from station to station, and they would make Christmas decorations and different little gifts for them to take home. And that was always so much fun to interact with not only the kids but with their parents. When it was time for me to retire, I knew that I still wanted to be involved with Fruitport. And Betty Kinney introduced me to the Fruitport Education Foundation, and we work on the Board of Trustees, where we support Fruitport schools with our scholarships, our mini grants to the staff, our little libraries, and projects that we have for each of the different buildings.
Through the years, Fruitport's children have been her passion, not only as a teacher, but as a willing volunteer. She continues to read weekly to children in the classroom. In fact, she does such a good job. Our sorority meetings on holidays, we ask her to read us a short, meaningful story, and she does. And not long ago, she took the time and effort to surprise 12 of us with quilts that she had made herself.
So Kathy has volunteered in my classroom every week for over 10 years.
Kathy also volunteers in my classroom every week, but she's been doing that for probably over 20 years now. I met her back when I taught kindergarten. She did a long-term substitute teaching position for my partner Lisa, so that's how I got to know her really well.
One of my favorite things about Kathy is she will do fun things with the kids. So if she's teaching about the Tulip Festival, she has dressed up as a Dutch dancer before, or if we're, she was teaching about early pioneers, she had the kids make butter. So she does a lot of fun things with them. So there's many fond memories of things she's done with the kids. Those are the two that kind of stick out the most.
When she comes to my classroom, she reads the cranberry stories. And there's a cranberry story for all the holidays. And the kids look forward to hearing each book when the next holiday comes.
As Michelle said, they look forward to it. They'll find those books in the library. They get excited and say, oh my gosh, look at, we found a cranberry story. And she'll do crafts with the kids as well. And the kids just so look forward to having Kathy come in to the classroom.
If that's not enough, she is secretary for the Fruitport Education Foundation, works at their fundraising events, and interviews graduating seniors for scholarships. She loves her family without measure. She celebrates their successes. She reaches out past her comfort zone and handles ordeals with grace and quiet strength.
Kathy loves her family, and she is just really committed to Fruitport schools, and is just very generous and gracious with her time and talents.
I would like to thank the board for the Hall of Fame for this honor. I feel very blessed, and I feel very humbled to be recognized for doing what I love to do for my community. And my hope is that all of the children and all of the people that I have worked with in Fruitport know that you are loved and you're very important to me.
Kathy you want to come on up? Congratulations. How about one more round of applause for Kathleen? Next up is Catherine Claire Nash. Catherine was an active member of the varsity cheerleading team during all 4 of her high school years. She won the Michigan Association of Gymnastics Individual All-Around State Championship. After graduating from Fruitport, she tried out for Western Michigan's varsity cheerleading team, not only made the team, but was chosen to be team captain. Catherine went on to become a teacher and a coach. Here's more on Catherine Claire Nash.
My athletic journey started at Fruitport when I transferred from Grand Haven in 9th grade, and I made the varsity cheerleading squad because the school only went through 11th and they thought I was in 10th grade. So I started there, and then the next year went back to junior varsity and then back to varsity for 2 years. So I was a 4-year cheerleader at Fruitport, 3 varsity and 1 JV. I competed gymnastics with Starlet School of Dance and Gymnastics in Grand Haven, and I won the state all-around title my junior year. But the all-around title that I won included what you see on gymnastics now, in gymnastics on the Olympics. It was bars, beam, florex, and vault, and those were the things that comprised the all-around title. Then we also competed at that time in tumbling and trampoline. Then I went on to Western Michigan University and tried out for cheerleading my freshman year, and was captain my freshman year and cheered all the way through Western. And we also at Western started the girls gymnastics team. We didn't compete directly. We competed with other schools, but it was more like an intramural kind of a thing because there was not official girls athletics at that time. I took a lot from Fruitport to my teaching in OV, the sense that I wanted to work well with the children, the kids, my students, my cheerleaders, my gymnasts. I also coached swimming for a little bit, and I also coached track, and those were things that were very important because when I started at OV, Title IX was just coming in. And so we really worked hard to keep the sports equal with the girls and the guys. We had some hiccups because there were only 2 of us coaching all of these sports. And after we got done with 1 year and we were coaching 3 and 4 sports, they got excited that we wanted assistant coaches. So it was a very interesting time, but we did a good job of getting the girls' sports off the ground. The leadership lessons that I learned, Mrs. Vanderstelt was always extremely kind, and another person that was very influential in my life was Dan Lever, our principal. And Dan was an absolutely wonderful man, a very family-oriented man, and between Mrs. Vanderstelt and Mr. Lever and a number of other members of the Fruitport High School staff, they were just a kind, loving, caring, nurturing group that really helped us develop who we were.
We're both teachers, and I was teaching at Orchard View, and she came in right out of college as a substitute. She was subbing in this room, and I walked in, and I thought, And she said, "Who is that guy?" The rest is history. And I'd get all these accolades. "Oh, Coach Nash, you're phenomenal." Well, let me just tell you, if it hadn't been for Catherine, I'd have been toast, because she knew everything about what was going on in the meet, and everything I needed to be backed up, she was there. And that was the same thing about teaching. You know, if something came up, bang, I did it. Something came with her, bang, she did it. You know, so it was like almost always having your shadow. Her drive, I mean, you know, don't tell me I can't do it. Get out of the way. You know, I mean, you look, obviously I'm a lifelong runner, So when we got together, she thought she'd maybe run a little bit. That just puts it in perspective. Run a little bit. She ran 4 marathons. She trained with each of our 4 kids and 2 other kids, by the way, and ran the race with them. Here's Mom running 15.5 miles with the kids. Get out of the way.
You want more, do more, be more. And that's something that I carried on into my own children, that I learned from her, that, you can do what you want to do as long as you try hard enough to do it. If somebody was trying a trick, wanted to learn a trick, or didn't know how to do a trick, she would do it, not just say, this is how you do it. She would show them how to do it. I remember freshman year, new to the school, and there was a guy I had started dating, and she called me into her office one day and said, I don't know if that's the kind of person you want to be involved with. Was not in the crowd I hung out with, and she says, I care about you, and so I took that to heart, went home and thought about it, and I thought, yeah, this is right. That is not the kind of person I am or I want to be. So she cared about us not only as athletes, but she also cared about us as people.
She led a group of Orchard View High School cheerleaders and 100 8th grade teens after school daily, teaching us different routines, proper mounting practices, instructed and coached us to do our best to try out for a team of only 6. So the minority was going to be appointed. I knew with 100 other young women competing for these roles that I needed to do my best to impress the judges on tryout day, but never expected I would be one of 7 young women who were ultimately judged and chosen, since a tying score allowed the team to appoint 7 instead of 6. Kathy taught us to practice daily, even outside of her instruction. And her motto was, can't, never did anything. During my career, I have worked for 7 different Fortune 500 companies, many of which were male-dominated defense industry driven, and by having been involved with a woman who coached me to stand out in front of large crowds, I learned to overcome my fear of public speaking. At times, I still get stage fright when doing so, but continue and move forward. So in summary and in closing, I want to note that in addition to coaching, Kathy Nash taught hundreds of students for decades as a physical education teacher. To participate in the following sports, she provided exposure, rules, equipment, stressed the importance of sportsmanship, and to remain active in life, including, and to name a few. I have 15 of them here that she taught us, and I know there has to be more. So she shared with us aerobic exercise, basketball, body hygiene, cage ball, diving, powder puff football, golf, gymnastics, softball, square dancing, swimming, tennis, track, volleyball, and water safety. And I'm sure that's only just a few of the many sports that she shared with us. We honor that Catherine Claire Nash is being inducted as a Sports Hall of Fame member and celebrate her leadership as coach, teacher, and mentor. And thank you for letting me pay tribute to her.
I got the call from Jeannie when I was in Miami, Florida, visiting our daughter, and I was walking out of a public store. And I didn't recognize the number, but something in my gut told me I should answer the phone, which I did. And Jeannie told me that I was going to be inducted, and I had a rough time continuing to walk and to talk to her. It came as a very, very big surprise. I am honored. I feel very close to Fruitport. It's been a wonderful place in my life and a very, very cherished time.
One more round of applause for Kathy. You made it. You did it. Now the troublemakers. The 1991 varsity football team became the first team in school history to qualify for the MHSAA playoffs, which began in 1976. Not only did they qualify, but their 8-1 record was good enough to host the first round of the playoffs. The team recorded the first playoff win in school history. The 1992 varsity football team took over where the 91 team left off. Their regular season record was 7-2. Fruitport advanced to the regional finals, faced off against Flint Powers Catholic Central. The Trojans won the game 19-18 and secured the first regional championship in school history. Here's more on the 1991 and 92 football teams.
Go out there, give your best shot. You go out there and play with your body, with your soul, with your mind. Go out there and have fun, gentlemen. This is what it's all about. Let's go.
I started football when I was in 2nd grade, and it was one of those games that just, you could be aggressive, and it was all out all the time, and it just really was something I felt was just part of me, and it's always been there.
I started playing 7th grade, played 8th grade, progressed from there, but I was hooked as soon as I started.
We had beach and Fruitport youth clubs, so there was, two groups of kids playing football for the same school essentially, but for different clubs. So we had, multiple teams at every level, and that rivalry started at a young age with kids that we ended up, being teammates with, when we got to 8th grade.
We were pretty good in middle school, and we had a coach that followed us up all the way through. That was our middle school coach, Barry Kieft, who was pretty instrumental.
Gary Reams, I think he was the first football coach I ever had. Jeff Strait, Coach Constantine, Coach DeBryan, Coach Krieger, Coach Fritzma, he was our JV coach, he was awesome.
And then also Mr. Westcott.
My athletic journey started in the spring of my 8th grade year when Coach Wilson, who had taken the job as the varsity head coach, went through the halls, stopped me and said, do you play football? I had not played any football. And so my freshman year was my very first year playing football.
That really became kind of the groundwork for my own thoughts and feelings about how to run a program. I'd later become a coach and still coach.
One of the biggest things that he instilled in us was camaraderie. To this day, I still look for that same camaraderie, whether it's in the workforce, and it still has been unmatched. I'm still searching for it. It's still, haven't found it.
Our incredible coaching staff under Coach Wilson gave us life skills and taught us leadership lessons that are just as impactful today as they were then. Some examples: a commitment to excellence, having high standards by working on perfecting your job, whether as an athlete or in your career, will get you far in life. Sacrificing for each other, whether it's 2-a-days in the hot Michigan summer or getting up at 5 a.m. to go to work, a willingness to make sacrifices is key to success. Being a great teammate, doing your job, supporting one another, backing each other up. It takes a team working together to win in sports and in life.
What you've accomplished this year, nobody else in the history of Fruitport football has been able to do. You've rose to the occasion. You've played over the bad breaks. You've come from behind to win. You are a great team because you are a team.
He had a speech, and it was, never failed to motivate. Okay, I'll say that. He always wanted to run through a wall for him. That's kind of the way I felt.
Whether you're in a room as a player or you was just there as a bystander listening, it would give you chills and motivate you.
Well, some of the characteristics from high school, we were called Blood Defense by Coach Rieger, and I've been a football coach at Mona Shores now for the last probably 14 or 15 years. I've coached in 4 state championships, and I've coached and won 2 state championships as part of that staff. At Mona Shores, we call our defense Blood Defense. It's a term that needs to be learned. Coach Rieger was a huge influence in my life, and I tell the kids, it kind of honors him. So that's very important to me to just kind of carry on that legacy and to have our kids kind of know that we're a blue collar team, and you're being coached by a kid from Fruitport who's a blue collar guy.
I did not really have an active father at the time. So I felt like the 2 or 3 coaches that we had there really were part of that piece that really helped me become what I was today. I didn't have somebody to guide me or hold me accountable or to really make sure that I was going down the right path. And I really felt when I was struggling that those people were the ones that were stepping in and really making sure that I was okay. So
the ancient Egyptians believed that as long as you could say a man's name, he wasn't truly dead. So I'd like to take this opportunity and say, Don Pringle, Larry Rieger, though they've passed away, they are with us here today.
And then with Coach Roop, he brought a little bit of the Texas passing game up to Fruitport. Coach Wilson was a run the ball type of guy and wanted to run right at him, right up the middle. And Coach Roop, I think, kind of inspired Coach Wilson to work some more of the spread out and passing game into the offense.
Such a lot of talent coming back. Our JV year, we were 9-0. I think the freshman team was 7-1 or 8-1, like that. We had just a great program that was being built by Coach Wilson. So that just the hype coming into the 92 season, I think all summer long, Coach had us doing step aerobics at the Omni, and we were doing passing camps at Hope College.
He had us put all our football equipment on, and he told us that we had to run, I believe it was 50 laps around the track. And so for, your mind automatically goes 50. I couldn't do it without this equipment on.
Like the sophomore year, my junior year, you're realizing like, okay, all this hard work we do really pays off in the end because you don't get tired, you can just keep on going.
That 91 team, there was some payback there. The year before, Spring Lake had a great pair of running backs, Bench and Heckheis, and they just ran the score up on us, beat us badly. Well, that left a bad taste in our mouth. So the next year we came back for blood, shut them out 21-0.
We were very successful right off the bat our junior year. We kind of started turning the corner. We had a couple bad seasons before we got up to varsity, and then my senior year we made the turn, and we were the first team in school history to make the playoffs.
I remember, you talk about those games, the craziness and the excitement around playing the very first playoff football game here at Fruitport against Mount Morris. And these strangers from another school showed up at we earned a home playoff game.
And that was sort of, I would say, the best game I had, where I ended up close to 500 yards that game. I scored 5 touchdowns that game as well.
Well, Flint Powers was kind of funny for Greg and I because we went to a football camp, 5-star football camp, and most of those guys were there also. And it's like the last thing we said is, we'll see you in the playoffs. And we saw them in the playoffs and beat them closely, but we beat them.
Orchard View was 4-0, we were 3-1. We went down by 14 points early in the game, but ended up coming back and winning it, I believe 28-23, with an interception at the end of the game to seal the game.
And then obviously the other memory would be the loss that we took to Sheboygan, which pretty much I think drove a lot of us. We felt like we should have won that game, and we were probably the team that should have been the first team to go to the state finals from Fruitport. And I think if you look at a lot of the guys that were just on our team, we have doctors and lawyers and presidents of Fortune 500 companies and teachers, and that would be the after memory would probably be the biggest one of just how successful all the guys are.
Losing in a state semifinal as a senior was crushing, but the achievement as you look back on it and kind of where we started and where we ended was just unbelievable.
There's a lot of dedication, sweat, and tears that went into getting there.
We set a lot of a tone and standards for the rest of the classes that comes underneath us. And again, I would like to thank the community of Fruitport as a whole. Like I said, as far as them coming out and support has been unmatched to, you know, as far as any other school that I've seen. The people of Fruitport are just thankful and blessed to be a part of that 91 team and also a part of the Fruitport community.
To do some of those first things, those are so huge in the momentum for community, and, you know, not just in the athletic program, but over the years, you know, the momentum that sports teams can provide for a community, for a school, is immeasurable. And I feel like we really put, you know, the Fruitport football program on the map as a force.
The incredible, generous people of Fruitport taught us that relationships give life meaning. And we learned the role of community involvement. Fruitport shows up. The support we received from the community was unreal. The stands were packed every Friday night. When your community has your back, you feel like you're home wherever you go.
I'd like to say congratulations to both teams. There wasn't a day I didn't want to go to practice. They made all that hard work fun. They held together good times and bads, and they supported each other. And they really deserve this nomination and enshrinement in the School Hall of Fame. So to each and every member of that team, for all your years of hard work and dedication, thank you and congratulations.
First of all, on behalf of the 91-92 football teams, I'd like to thank the Hall of Fame committee for this great honor for these kids. It's been over 30 years that these guys have played, and putting the word out that they were going into the Hall of Fame, and the comments and emails and text messages that I've seen, it's just been an overwhelming thing that these kids are extremely excited to go in. And it's funny that I still call these kids guys kids, because they're grown men now, and actually when you think about it, they're going on 50 years old. They've got kids that are in high school now themselves, and they're up in the stands cheering their own kids on. And to still refer to these guys as kids, in my heart and in my mind, they're still 17, 18-year-old kids walking out to practice, you know, yucking it up with each other, and the quiet solitude in front of their lockers as they got ready for each game, and the pure emotions that they went through on the sidelines before, during, and after the games are the memories that I will always have of these guys. There's three factions that I'd really like to thank. Number one, Mom and Dad. I want to thank you 30-some years ago for entrusting your son with us. You know, the coaching staff was young, actually. I was less than 40 years old myself at that time, and really didn't have a clue on what I was doing, other than the fact that I knew I wanted to coach. I'm really proud of the job that we as a coaching staff did with them. The second group I'd like to address is the kids of these players. You know, your dad is a lot older now, and you kind of think of him as old and a little old-fashioned, and you know, probably a little bit strict in his rules. I want you to know that your dad, when he was 16, 17, 18 years old, was just like you. You know, I gotta admit, there were times when he was a big pain in the butt, but I was extremely proud of them as players, and you know, you have a lot to be proud of. And when your dad gives you some advice, you should follow it, because your dad grew up and he went through a lot of these same experiences you are. And his mom and dad, your grandma and grandpa, we're talking to you, we're talking to him the same way he's talking to you. The third group I'd like to address are the players themselves. Guys, you did some amazing things back in high school, a lot to be proud of. And I really think in my heart you listened. Listened to what we as coaches had to say, the rules that they put on you, and the way we made you work a little harder than you really wanted to work, and made you sacrifice and give up a lot of other things that a lot of other kids were doing just so you could be a part of the team. I want to tell you now, 30-some years later, you've done good. You've gone on, you've had your own families, and you've moved to all parts of the country. And some of you stayed right here and have grown up in Fruitport and established home here. There's something special about being a part of this program. And I think it's part of it is just the way that we come together as a team, but the way that the school and the community supported us and continues to support the program. And I think everybody knows that you play Fruitport, you're going to play a tough team, and we're going to do it the right way. And you did that 30-some years ago, and you're doing it now with your everyday life. I'm just so proud, and I'm so happy for you. And I want you to know that my door is always open. I'd love to hear from you guys. We don't do that enough. And one of the things that this has done, that the going into the Hall of Fame has done, is generated conversations, and guys have been reaching out to me. And I've been able to talk to some of you guys and haven't talked to you in over 30 years, and be able to see you and hear stories about what you're doing now. It's been a great honor. It's been a great thrill. It's brought back a lot of memories. So I want to thank you for that. So on behalf of the 91-92 football team, thank you very much. Go Blue.
Before we invite the players and coaches on stage to receive their plaques, we'd like to pause and pay tribute to 7 individuals who contributed to the 91 and 92 teams who have unfortunately passed from this life. They are players Sean Edmondson, Chad Johnson, and Aaron Westcomb, team manager Adam Pringle, team physician Dr. Robert Pierce, coaches Don Pringle, and Larry Rieger. If you'd bow your heads and just pause for a second. Thank you. 4 of the 7 individuals have family members here tonight: Brooke Edmondson, Wendy Pierce, Kim Rieger West, and Butch and Carol Westcomb. We invite you on stage with members of the teams to receive your loved ones' plaques. And players and coaches from the 91 and 92 football teams, please come on up here on the ramp, line up along here. Coach, can you get these guys in order? Come on now. They're already causing trouble, right? Let's start off with Aaron Anderson. Over that way too. Ken Bean was unable to attend, but accepting on his behalf his mother Gloria Bean. Craig Baldwin. Rich Burke. Dan Butler. Chris Servants. Accepting on behalf of Sean Edmondson, his daughter Brooke Edmondson. Tom Grimm. Andrew Kanar. Jeremy Kendra. Jim Kendra. Benji Keith. Matt Kotecki. Still rocking the jersey, I love it. Troy Lenore. Paul Lindale. Brad Matson. Chris Pasternak. Brad Pollock. Gary Peasley. Andy Pierce. Chip Hipple. Greg Robbins. Rob Rogers. You guys are doing great with the applause. We got a few more. Jason Scalt. Nick Skidema. Ross Spike. Jay Stebleton. Jason Straley. Brett Suchecki. Greg Vargas. Jim Wesley. Accepting on behalf of his son, Butch and Carol Westcombe, for Aaron Westcombe. Jason Worrell. Brian Wright. Accepting for Dr. Robert Pierce is Wendy Pierce, his daughter. Coach Matt McDonald. Accepting for Coach Larry Rieger, his daughter Kim Rieger West. Coach Steve Roop. And Coach Steve Wilson. Watching that video, it probably felt like yesterday, right? You guys are ready to run through a brick wall again for these coaches. What a great accomplishment. Let's give it up again for the 91 and 92 teams. And one more round of applause for all of our inductees tonight. Quite an accomplishment. You guys have a lot to be proud of.
What an amazing night we have had. Catherine, Barbara, Kathy, and members of the 91-92 football teams, thank you for sharing your stories with us this evening, and to the many individuals who spoke in the videos on your behalf. The stories that were shared about our inductees, their successes, and the accomplishments have further validated their nominations into the Fruitport Hall of Fame. Thank you all for your participation in the video presentations. We also give a huge thank you to tonight's MC. We appreciate Tara's willingness to return home to be part of the special program. So thank you for the wonderful job. Fruitport High School graduated its first class in the late 60s. So we know there are more than 6 decades of individuals, groups, and/or teams worthy of Hall of Fame status, and we need your help identifying those individuals. Nominations are being accepted for the class of 2025, and nomination forms can be found on the school district website under the Athletics tab,
or by using the QR code that is printed in your program. We encourage you to nominate yourself or someone you know who fits the criteria listed under each of the 3 Hall of Fame categories.
The formal ceremony is complete, and now it's time to celebrate our 2024 Hall of Fame class. We invite you all to join us in the cafeteria for a complimentary taste of Fruitport. Vendors from around the neighborhood have prepared a variety of dishes for your enjoyment. Tickets for sodas and bar items can be purchased at a station inside the cafeteria. We also encourage you to visit with our inductees, further hear their stories, and pursue their displays of memorabilia. Barbara, Kathy, Catherine, as you exit the Performing Arts Center, we ask that you stop by the Hall of Fame backdrop banner so that your pictures can be taken. Members of the 91 and 92 football teams, please remain in your seats to allow Coach Wilson to address you. After his address, we ask that you also stop by the Hall of Fame backdrop for pictures. Thank you again for joining us this evening. Go Blue and go Trojans.
Actually, I didn't intend for Mom and Dad to leave too, and they're more than welcome to stay, but honestly, I just wanted to address you guys. It has become our tradition with the Hall of Fame to no longer let the recipients do an acceptance speech because they kind of got long. And I'm probably the reason that we had to go to that. But I just couldn't let you guys go without being able to address you as a group. I don't know, I hope that we have many more opportunities to do this because this is the highlight of my life. To have you guys come back and get together, the stories that we told last night, and I'm sure what we're going to share in the next hour and a half, 3 hours. I'm really looking forward to it. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. When I said I was, 37 years old when I took this job and I didn't know what I was doing, I didn't know what I was doing. And the fact that I had Steve Roop and Larry Rieger and Don Pringle and all the coaches that were part of the program, top to bottom. That's what I was, you made me look most of the time. On the field, yeah. But I just wanted to tell you that from the bottom of my heart and from Mrs. Coaches, you made things work for me here where, taking this job and not having any experience and not having a clue. And the way that you guys were 8th grade, right? 7th, 8th grade, somewhere in there, right? When I came in. And the way you responded to the program and what we really wanted to do, you did things right. And you set the tone and you made the next 19 years easy because you established Fruitport football in what I consider my era. And I just want to tell one story as blood defense. And everybody thinks, boy, oh, you can't say that. Remember, we used to break the huddle, defense huddle, ready to kill, and that you can't do that anymore. And talk about blood defense. I want to tell you that blood defense came from Muskegon High School when I was there for 11 years. We called it Blood D. And it was, Blood D was number one, the first string, and it was Blood, Sweat, and Tears. You guys are probably too old to know that song, right? Blood, Sweat, or is that a group? Music group. Okay, so you do. So if you're on first string, you're on Blood D. Second string, you are on Sweat. You got to sweat a little harder to get on first string, Blood. If you're on third string, you're Tears. You're crying because so that was Blood, Sweat, and Tears, but we just kept Blood. So that's where that came from, and now you guys got it over at Mona Shores. So it's been 30 years since some of us have seen each other. And, I just wish we could do this every year and get everybody together, all right? So with that, let's go out and have some fun. Thank you.